When someone chooses to sever a family tie or to X a relationship, no matter the reason, it is hard and hurtful for everyone involved. And my next guest says it's happening too often. Studio 5 parenting contributor Heather Johnson is coming through with a two-part conversation on estrangement in families. I'll tell you, her message is bold, direct, and she hopes it will inspire a more healthy approach within some of our most important relationships. Hey, Heather, this is a big one.
It's a big one.
This is a big one that you're seeing a lot of. Our focus today is on adult children estranging their parents. Next week, we'll speak to the parents being estranged. But first, give us a quick lay of the land. Why does this topic matter so much to you?
This unnecessary estrangement, it is literally destroying generations. It's destroying them single-handedly, right? It's almost become just this very commonplace. If something was uncomfortable, if I don't like something that happened, if I think back on my childhood and there's anything that was uncomfortable in any way, or again, I'm not in line with, if I don't get the support I want now, I'm out and I'm gonna push you out. And it's destroying families. And again, because it has such an impact on relationships between grandchildren and grandparents, this is a generational destruction that's happening. Now, we should caveat, there are times when estrangement is healthy. We need to give a nod to that. There are times when there is abuse and those things might need to shift and relationships might need to be severed. We are not talking about those times. We're talking about the frivolity that we're now using this estrangement so that we don't have to face really hard things.
You say it's almost becoming mainstream.
Mainstream, right? It's this very easy thing to do. If it was uncomfortable, I don't want uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is happening because we've got this shift in our family systems from loyalty to individuality. We've let go of the fact that there's any owing or loyalty that connects us. And now it's, you know what, if my parents aren't helping me be happy, if they're not giving me what I want, then there's not a reason to have a relationship with them. And to be honest, it isn't acceptable. It's not living the values that we continue to say we believe in, and it's hurting us.
There's a lifestyle media brand that I love, and they seem, in my opinion, hyper-fixed with the topic of, adult children, parents, and boundaries. And what irks me is not just the frequency in which they're visiting this topic, but when I see them post about it on social media, I'm disheartened by the flood of comments, like hundreds of comments from people saying, oh yeah, I just cut him off. I just cut him off. Have we gone too far with the boundary talk?
Absolutely. Absolutely, we've gone too far. And anytime we swing something too far to an extreme, when we become imbalanced, it leads to being unhealthy. What we've done with something like boundaries, and we're not saying that there isn't room to set boundaries, but what we do is we cherry pick, we pull those boundaries, we give all of our energy to them, and we forget a lot of other values and principles that we also should be subscribing to, like forgiveness, like grace, like hard work to learn how to communicate. We abandon them and we just pull boundaries and give it all of our energy. We also know this generation, it's really interesting that they are the ones that are choosing the estrangement so often for a couple reasons. It's this generation that's choosing it that is also constantly talking about not being abusive parents. And yet, the choice to estrange is often abusive to grandparents and grandchildren. It's this generation, right, that is constantly talking about attachments and how we want healthy attachment. And yet, they're the ones challenging the attachment between grandparents and grandchildren, adult kids and parents, right? They're challenging. They're the ones that are so good and willing to go to therapy and work on healthy emotions. And yet, they're the ones who are unable to disconnect their emotions from their children so that generations can have relationships. This is the generation that's saying, I don't like how my parents did parenting, I want to be healthier. And yet, what kind of example are they showing their children when they're consistently and unnecessarily making the choice to estrange?
You have a very pointed list of things that you want adult kids to consider before they make a decision like this. We're going to move through as quickly as we can, but also emphasize the importance of these statements. First, you are not the only authority on what happened in your childhood.
That's exactly right. You are not. As the adult child, you are not the only authority. There are other opinions, there are other perspectives. We have to know that our opinions and perspective, yes, they're based on memories and experiences, but they're based on our fears and our insecurities and where we were uncomfortable. You are not the only authority. Assuming you are will get us in trouble.
I've felt this from an observational standpoint. I've never heard anyone say this until today. Thank you for saying it. Hurting feelings is not the same thing as being abused.
No, it is not. And just because your feelings have been hurt repeatedly does not mean that you have been abused. You know, when we look at feelings and we look at abuse, it used to be that we looked at mental disorders, and in the 1950s there was about 45, 47 mental disorders that we classified. Now there are over 300 in the same mental disorder guide. What we see with that is that we are taking things like if your parents had a sleep disturbance, if they were shy, if they have character flaws, if they had moral differences than you, and we're considering them abuse, and they're not. Just because they think different, feel different, doesn't mean, and just because your feelings were hurt, doesn't mean you were abused.
You mentioned this, it deserves repeating. Estranging grandparents who have never harmed their grandchildren is abuse.
It is, yeah, and we look at it as child abuse and also elderly abuse. Grandparents who have done nothing to their grandchildren are being abused when we refuse, as that middle generation, to allow them to have relationships just because we are uncomfortable with something our parents did.
So the
now that
burden
we're
becomes
adults.
work through it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Figure out what you can do to reconcile, work through the understandings, communicate with, yes, all of those things.
This next one is big too. If your spouse is requiring you to estrange your parents, you need to look at your marriage.
Yes. We're making some really big statements.
Yes, we are.
I'm hearing it, right? And it's true. Oftentimes, a spouse is the one that's saying, you can't be with them anymore. Break off this relationship. If your spouse is asking that of you, don't look at the relationship with your parents. Look at your marriage and figure out what that needs to look like and how that needs to be different. A spouse should not be requiring that of you when your parents are healthy.
30 seconds left. It isn't healthy to blame your parents for parenting practices that didn't exist when they were raising you. This is common sense, but yet it's sometimes hard to bring to life in this modern era.
This is a really big one, right? This idea that our parents, they worked tirelessly to listen to the right people and read the right books and do the right thing as parents. Most of them did. They were trying all the time. We can't hold them accountable because parenting practices have changed. We can't hold them accountable because we used to say spanking or toilet training a certain way was the right approach. And now we've said we need to work on vulnerability and the connection and the empathy.
Yeah.
We've changed, and they can't be held accountable for those things or claim that they abused us because the parenting practices have shifted. We do this all the time. We do it all the time. We also have to know that just because you think or see some narcissistic tendencies in your parents, it actually doesn't mean they're a narcissist. It doesn't mean that. Just because you see those things. We all have those
behavior.
tendencies somewhere, right?
We'll end on this one. Regardless of your parents' actions, it doesn't excuse you from living values. Heather,
It doesn't.
thank you. Thank you so much for this.